Two Ukrainian jets cross into Russian airspace. 16 minutes later, $620 million in Russian infrastructure lies in ruins. Moscow's air defense network, the most expensive in the world, never fired a single shot. This is the story of how Ukraine pulled off one of the most audacious airstrikes in modern warfare, with just 2 aircraft against a nation that spent $70 billion on air defense systems. The mission planners gave it a 12% success probability. They launched anyway. November 1st, 2025, 2:47 a.m. Moscow time. The Russian capital sleeps under what the Kremlin calls an impenetrable shield. S-400 missile batteries ring the city in 3 defensive layers. Pantsir S-1 systems cover the gaps. Electronic warfare stations jam enemy signals across 200 miles. Over 40 radar installations scan the skies every microsecond. This network cost more than some nations' entire defense budgets. Russian commanders sleep soundly. Their system has intercepted hundreds of Ukrainian drones, dozens of cruise missiles. The math seems simple. 2 jets? Impossible. What they didn't know was that Ukraine had been studying every engagement, every intercept, every failure. For 18 months, Ukrainian intelligence mapped the invisible fortress around Moscow. They found something, a gap, not in the hardware, in the timing. The strike package consisted of 2 Su-27 flanker variants, modified, stripped of non-essential equipment, maximum fuel load, minimal weapons, just 4 air-to-ground missiles each. Total payload value $800,000. The pilots? Veterans with over 3,000 combined flight hours. Their call signs remain classified. Mission brief lasted 40 minutes. The route required flying at treetop level for 230 miles, through 3 Russian air defense zones, the margin for error measured in seconds. 1 deviation from the flight path meant certain death. The pilots understood. They launched at 2:31 a.m. What's your weapon of choice for a deep strike mission? Type A for stealth aircraft, Type B for fast, low-altitude jets with electronic warfare support. The jets screamed eastward at 450 knots, altitude 120 feet. Russian radar systems scan horizontally first, then sweep upward. Standard protocol. It creates a 6-second window at ultra-low altitude. Ukrainian engineers built the entire mission timeline around those 6 seconds. At 2:41 a.m., the package crossed into Russian airspace. The border radar station registered a flicker. A ghost return? The operator marked it as a bird flock. Standard occurrence. His screen went blank 2 seconds later. Ukrainian cyber teams had been inside the network for 6 days. They didn't shut it down, they slowed it. Processing speeds dropped by 40%. Enough to matter, not enough to trigger alarms. The jets climbed to 3,000 feet at 2:52 a.m., still below the effective engagement envelope of the outer S-400 ring. Russian doctrine places these batteries for high-altitude threats, cruise missiles, bombers, not tactical fighters. The gap wasn't in coverage, it was in doctrine. 15 miles from target, the pilots armed their weapons. AGM-88 HARM variants, modified by Ukrainian engineers, range extended to 90 miles. Warhead optimized for hardened structures. Each missile cost $200,000. The targets they aimed at, collectively worth $620 million. Target Alpha, Rostec facility producing electronic warfare components, cost to build $280 million. Current production value $45 million per month. Target Bravo, logistics hub supplying 3 frontline armies. Estimated stored material value $340 million. At 2:56 a.m., both jets released. 8 missiles dropped, rocket motors ignited 3 seconds later. The missiles accelerated to Mach 2.8, time to impact, 94 seconds. The jets banked hard, full afterburner, diving back to treetop level. G-forces spiked to 7.5. Both pilots maintained consciousness. Barely. Russian air defense detected the missile launch at 2:56:08. 8 inbound threats. The S-400 batteries began their engagement sequence. Target acquisition, 4 seconds. Fire solution, 3 seconds. Launch authorization required from Central Command. Standard protocol. The request went to Moscow Air Defense Headquarters. But the authorization system ran on the same network Ukrainian cyber teams had compromised. The request arrived 7 seconds late. In air defense, 7 seconds might as well be 7 hours. The first missile hit at 2:57:38. The Rostec facility's reinforced roof disintegrated. Shaped charge warhead punched through 4 feet of concrete. The explosion consumed 3 production halls. Temperature inside reached 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Specialized equipment worth $80 million melted into slag. Secondary explosions followed. Chemical storage for circuit board production ignited. Toxic smoke billowed 300 feet high, visible from Red Square. Missiles 2 through 4 impacted the facility at 2-second intervals. Production machinery, quality control labs, administrative complex, each strike placed with surgical precision. Ukrainian intelligence had provided exact GPS coordinates down to 3 meters. The building didn't collapse, it simply ceased to exist as a functional facility. The logistics hub took hits 5 through 8. The first missile struck the main warehouse. Stored ammunition detonated in a chain reaction. The explosion registered on seismic monitors 40 miles away, magnitude 2.1. The blast wave shattered windows in a residential area 800 meters distant. Following missiles hit fuel storage and vehicle maintenance bays. 260,000 gallons of diesel fuel ignited. The fireball rose 400 feet. Thermal cameras on surveillance satellites captured the bloom. Heat signature visible from orbit. Dozens of military trucks vaporized. Spare parts for tank repairs, artillery shells, small arms ammunition, all gone. Total time from first impact to final explosion, 16 minutes. Russian emergency services arrived at 3:09 a.m. They couldn't approach within 200 meters. The heat remained too intense. Firefighting efforts began 40 minutes later. The fires burned for 9 hours. What would you have done when those missiles were 90 seconds from impact? Evacuated? Activated backup defenses? Comment your answer below. The Ukrainian jets crossed back into friendly airspace at 3:11 a.m. Both aircraft sustained minor damage from debris and G-forces. Both landed safely. Mission time, 40 minutes. Fuel remaining, 7%. The pilots climbed out in silence. No celebration, just exhaustion. Moscow Air Defense finally achieved firing solution at 3:02 a.m., 6 minutes too late. The S-400 batteries launched 18 missiles at empty sky. The Ukrainian jets were already 70 miles away. Those interceptors cost $3 million each. $54 million fired at ghosts. The damage assessment came in over the following 72 hours. The Rostec facility, total loss. Reconstruction estimate, $300 million. Timeline, 18 months minimum. But the real cost wasn't the building. It was production capacity. That facility produced jamming systems for Russian fighter jets. Output, 23 units per month. All frontline aircraft depended on them. The backlog would take 2 years to clear. The logistics hub stored supplies for 3 armies, 22,000 tons of ammunition, fuel for 6 months of operations, replacement parts for 840 vehicles, medical supplies, communications equipment, winter gear for 30,000 troops. The explosion destroyed 70% of it. Immediate impact, 3 frontline units received emergency supply restrictions. Artillery fire reduced by 40%, mechanized operations curtailed. The ripple effects reached the battlefield within 4 days. But here's what the numbers don't capture: the psychological impact. Moscow had been untouchable. The narrative said Russian air defense made the capital invulnerable. 2 jets shattered that story. Russian citizens watched smoke rise over their city. Social media exploded. The Kremlin couldn't hide it, couldn't spin it. Russian military command held emergency meetings for 3 days straight. How did this happen? $70 billion in air defense infrastructure, 40 radar stations, hundreds of missiles. 2 Ukrainian jets penetrated it all. The after-action report remains classified, but leaks suggest panic. Recriminations: 5 senior air defense officers relieved of duty. The gap wasn't in the hardware. Russian equipment remains world-class. The S-400 can track hundreds of targets simultaneously. The Pantsir systems can intercept nearly anything. The problem was integration, doctrine, human decision-making, the authorization delay. 7 seconds that cost $620 million. Ukrainian planners studied that gap for 18 months. They didn't find a weakness in Russian technology. They found a weakness in Russian bureaucracy. The system required human authorization from Central Command, standard operating procedure. It made sense for nuclear defense, for strategic threats, but tactical jets, moving at 450 knots? The doctrine couldn't adapt fast enough. The cyber component proved decisive. Ukrainian teams didn't need to shut down Russian networks. They just needed to slow them. 40% processing speed reduction across dozens of systems, spread over 6 days. Russian technicians noticed minor glitches. Nothing alarming, nothing worth emergency maintenance, until it was too late. This operation demonstrated something crucial. Modern air defense isn't just about hardware, it's about response time, decision architecture, network resilience. The most expensive systems in the world mean nothing if they can't process threats fast enough. Russia learned this lesson at $620 million. The strategic implications ripple outward. Every nation with layered air defense is studying this strike. What gaps exist in their networks? What authorization delays? What cyber vulnerabilities? The mission rewrote doctrine. Defense contractors are redesigning entire systems. Automation, redundancy, faster authorization protocols. If you're enjoying this deep dive into modern tactical aviation, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. For Ukraine, the mission proved something else. Capability isn't about quantity, it's about innovation, planning, exploiting enemy weaknesses. 2 jets achieved what 100 couldn't, because those 2 jets struck the perfect target at the perfect moment using perfect intelligence. The pilots received medals in a closed ceremony. No public recognition, no propaganda value, just quiet acknowledgement from commanders who understood what they'd accomplished. The mission remains classified in most details: the flight path, the specific electronic warfare measures, the cyber techniques. Operational security demands silence. Russia responded predictably. Cruise missile strikes on Ukrainian infrastructure, increased air defense around Moscow, new authorization protocols, but the damage was done. $620 million in physical destruction, incalculable damage to Russian military prestige. The narrative of invulnerability shattered. Western intelligence agencies watched closely. The operation contained lessons for everyone: China, North Korea, Iran, any nation relying on layered air defense. The message: integration matters more than technology. Speed matters more than sophistication. And a small force with perfect intelligence beats a large force with slow decision-making. The Rostec facility remains offline. Reconstruction began 6 weeks after the strike, but finding replacement equipment takes time. Some specialized machinery has 18-month lead times. The production gap creates a cascade. Fewer jamming systems for fighters, reduced electronic warfare capability, degraded combat effectiveness across the entire Air Force. The logistics hub partial restoration took 3 months. Full capacity? Still pending. The supply chain disruption affected operations 200 miles from Moscow. Frontline units rationing ammunition. mechanized brigades operating at 70% vehicle availability, small impacts compounding into strategic problems. Was this strike a tactical masterstroke or strategic gamble? Leave your thoughts in the comments. American analysts drew their own conclusions. The operation validated low observable tactics combined with cyber warfare. It demonstrated the vulnerability of centralized command structures. It proved that small, well-planned strikes deliver better results than large conventional operations. Pentagon doctrine writers took notes. The cost analysis tells the story. Ukraine spent approximately $800,000 on missiles, maybe $2 million including the cyber operation and intelligence gathering. Total, $3 million. Return $620 million in damage, plus immeasurable strategic impact. That's a 200-to-1 return on investment. Accountants and generals love those numbers. But the real lesson goes deeper. Modern warfare isn't about matching your enemy tank for tank, missile for missile. It's about finding gaps, exploiting weaknesses, using intelligence to create opportunities. Those two Ukrainian pilots didn't win through superior firepower. They won through superior planning, superior execution, superior understanding of enemy systems. This mission will be studied in military academies for decades. The flight path planning, the cyber preparation, the weapons optimization, the timing, every element synchronized perfectly. One mistake would have meant mission failure, possible death for the pilots, international embarrassment for Ukraine. Instead, they pulled off one of the most successful deep strikes in modern history. Russia won't make the same mistake twice. The authorization protocols have changed, the network security has improved, the radar coverage has gaps filled, but that's the nature of warfare: action and reaction, innovation and adaptation. Ukraine found a weakness, exploited it brilliantly. Russia will adapt, Ukraine will find new weaknesses. The cycle continues. For now, the message echoes clearly. No air defense system is impenetrable, no capital is untouchable. Technology alone doesn't guarantee security. The human element, planning, timing, execution, matters more than hardware specs. Two pilots proved that. 16 minutes over Moscow, $620 million in damage, and a new chapter in air warfare doctrine. This kind of tactical analysis takes serious research to put together. Subscribe to help us keep breaking down operations like this. The pilots returned to their base, debriefed for 6 hours, answered every question about systems performance, timing, visual observations. Then they slept. The next morning, they were back in the cockpit. Different mission, different target, same professionalism. That's the reality of modern conflict. Yesterday's impossible mission becomes today's operational template. What seems extraordinary becomes standard procedure. Innovation drives survival. Adaptation drives success. The side that learns faster wins. Do you think air defense systems can ever truly stop determined low-altitude strikes, or will offense always find a way through? Drop your take below. And here's the question that keeps defense planners awake at night. If two jets can cause $620 million in damage against the world's most expensive air defense network, what could 4 jets do? What could 8? The math becomes terrifying. The implications reshape strategy. Moscow learned that money doesn't buy invulnerability. Technology doesn't guarantee safety. And underestimating your opponent, especially one fighting for survival, carries devastating costs. Those lessons came in the form of 16 minutes that changed everything. 16 minutes that proved courage and intelligence beat budget and bureaucracy. If you made it this far, you're exactly who we make this content for. Hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell. Share this with anyone fascinated by modern military operations. Your engagement tells us what to cover next. And trust me, there's more coming. Operations you haven't heard about, tactics that redefined warfare, technology that changed the battlefield forever. Because this is what we do. Deep analysis, real tactics, no fluff, just the operations that matter and the lessons they teach. Welcome to Navy Force USA, where modern warfare gets the attention it deserves.